Hello, my friends. This is Dr. Renee Tucker again. Today I'd like to chat with you about the most common cause of hind end trouble, and it's not the hocks. All right, the hocks get blamed for a lot of stuff because they do get overused and stiff and sore. But I promise you, the most common cause of hind end trouble is actually the pelvic symphysis. Now, you may not be familiar with that. It's also called the pubic symphysis in people, if you want to Google any anatomy. But the pelvic symphysis is basically the bottom of the pelvis. If you picture looking at the back of your horse, from behind, and it's the bottom of the pelvis and the center of the legs. So it's back there in the middle on the bottom. It's a little hard to describe. If you want to take a look at some anatomy, it can help you, but it's really just the bottom of the pelvis. So you say, well, why would we care about that? That's on the bottom. It's way down there. So what? Well, my friend, here's the thing. If you picture it as the foundation of a house, okay, now we don't really see the foundation a whole lot of a house, but if our house's foundation is crooked, then no matter how much you straighten your windows and fix the roof and angle your gutters, it's not going to matter because the foundation of the house is crooked and it affects everything on top of it. So in the same manner, if the pelvic symphysis, which is like the foundation of the pelvis of the horse, if that is crooked, my friends, we can be fixing things like the sacrum, sacroiliac, the hips, the lumbar, a whole lot of stuff. We can fix that all day. We can fix that every day, and it's going to go back out of alignment again. Why? Because the foundation of the house is crooked. So it is super important to get this pelvic symphysis straight. I do this all day long. And it's fun. The horses love it. They just totally relax. So let me give you some ideas of the problems I'm talking about. So all these I'm going to mention, at least 95% of the time, the pelvic symphysis is involved. So our first one is bunny hopping. This is not all that common, but you'll see some horses when they're trying to canter or really any gait where they keep their hind legs rather close together and they move them together rather than two separate hind legs. They kind of stick them together like a bunny. And then that's called bunny hopping, at least in the US. Now, some horses can grow out of this, but if you have an older horse that's bunny hopping a lot, almost certainly the pelvic symphysis is involved. Next, we have tripping in the hind end. It's very, very common if the pelvis is misaligned. Try to picture it, if the pelvis is crooked, then one leg actually has more weight on it and the other one has less. And so that will cause increased tripping with the hind legs. Also, cross canter or counter cantering. You know how the horse has to have that little bend in its lumbar, just a little bit. Even if they're cantering straight, you still have to have a little bend in the lumbar. In order to accomplish that bend, you have to just tweak your pelvis a little bit, all right? I mean, like bend it so that it goes along with the lumbar. Well, again, if that pelvic symphysis, the foundation of the pelvis, is crooked, it is much harder to do that. It's just that simple. It goes along also with not being able to hold a canter for very long or very comfortably, and also if any trouble with flying changes. All these types of things where you really need the hind end to be working good. If it's not, definitely have a pelvic symphysis problem. Particularly in the cases if you have sacroiliac issues. Sacroiliac all by itself can be a big problem. But most of the time, that sacroiliac problem is because the pelvic symphysis isn't aligned. It's a huge deal. And I love fixing it. That's why I really feel it's important to make sure whoever your therapist is, or whatever type of therapy, they know what the pelvic symphysis is, and you can talk to them and see how does their technique address it. Because it is tough to get to, because it's in there. But you don't want to be forceful to get in there. That's not really a good plan necessarily. Of course, I do an energetical technique, the biokinetic technique, and we can do that to the pelvic symphysis, no problem at all. So I think that's all for today. If you're having any of those issues or any other hind end troubles, think the foundation of the pelvis. Try to make sure that pelvic symphysis is correct. Okay? Let me know if any questions, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.